everyone. Welcome to the Art of Badassery Podcast with me, Jenn, your Chief Badassery Officer. And today I have a very, very special guest, and she is a dear friend of mine. Everyone give a warm welcome to Richardson Whitely. Again, dear friend of mine, author of not one, not two, but actually 3 books that we're going to talk about in a minute. Cara and I go way back to when I was living in New York. This is over 15 years ago. We were both in a nonfiction book proposal writing class together. And I do want to say that I never wrote that book. But Cara went on to write, like I said, not 1, but 3 books from there. So it took me a while to catch up. And here we are. Cara, welcome.
Thank you. And for the record, you did write The Art of Badassery, an incredible book. And so, the class paid off for both of us. But I think the biggest gift of the class is our friendship.
Yes, that is a true statement for sure. Thank you so much for being here. You are a serious black belt in badassery in my eyes. Obviously, that's why you're here, duh. And to me, what a black belt means is someone that has overcome major obstacles in their life and uses their secret weapons, that inner strength, right, to now serve others. So I just want to really acknowledge you for that. I'm going to go ahead and read your professional bio to give everyone a really big idea of how much you have going on. So the Gorgeous Agency CEO, Cara Richardson Whitely, a plus-size adventurer, influencer, and advisor, is the author of Gorge, My Journey Up Kilimanjaro at 300 pounds, which is being made into a movie with This Is Us actress Chrissy Metz producing and starring as her. How cool is that? She is a contributor to Backpacker and Outside Business Journal. She's helped brands such as LL Bean, Keen, Alaska Airlines, and Discover Puerto Rico connect with plus-size audiences. She has presented for companies around the globe, including Columbia Sportswear, Google, Pfizer, Smuckers, Uber, Dartmouth, and Purdue. She's been featured in countless media outlets such as the New York Times, Good Morning America, The Today Show, She Explores, and many more. Again, welcome, Cara. Thank you so much for being here and for doing what you do.
Such an honor. Such an honor.
Yeah. So I just wanted to dive right in and again, right, just let's put it out there. What's true in this world right now is there's a lot of prejudice out there. From race, skin color, religion, and body size. So what you're doing, what you've been up to, I don't know how long now, but as long as I've known you, is taking a stand for folks, right? Taking a stand for people that have probably endured a lot of prejudice in their lifetime. So with that, I'd love for you to just kick it off and tell us about that. What does that feel like? What does that look like starting from when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, I think that part of the equation where, taking a stand, it started by sharing my narrative. That meant writing. It just meant writing authentically about my experience of living in a larger body as a kid and as a mom and as just a human being. And from that platform, then I knew that I could share more. And I also could be like an agent of change. And that's not why I got into doing, I didn't start with that intention, but it felt like such a need. I mean, right now, the only state that has banned weight discrimination is Michigan.
Are you serious?
Yeah, serious. And New York City just created a ban against weight discrimination also. So many states are coming down the pipeline and understanding that weight stigma is pervasive. And so I think just to back it up a little bit about who I am as a human being, I guess you could say I was an average sized kid until about size 12. And at that time, I was sexually assaulted. And even before that, I had a real troubled relationship with food. My parents were on the verge of divorce. I literally hide in the pantry and binge. So what I didn't know at the time, because as as they did back then, they would often just say, well, just eat less, move more. There's this diet program. You should try it. What I didn't know at the time was that I was struggling with an eating disorder called binge eating disorder.
How old were you, Cara?
9 when my symptoms started.
Okay.
But the other part of my health equation is that I also have a condition called lipedema. And so lipedema comes on and puberty and any kind of major hormonal shifts. So my binge eating disorder was in full force as a 12-year-old. And then again, when I was pregnant, when I was sleep deprived, when I was a new mom, and I didn't know these things. And so anyway, my body looks different than a lot of folks. If you see a full-size photo of me, you'll see that I'm very small on the top and large on the bottom. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I could starve myself for 4 months and my body would look very much the same.
Right.
So that's part of, go ahead.
Sorry. But you didn't discover anything about lipedema until you were an adult, right?
Yeah, it was actually just like 3 years ago, I think.
Right.
Now. I wrote a story for Backpacker magazine about being fat shamed when I was doing 100 miles of the Long Trail, which the Long Trail is a beast of a trail. It is in total 273 miles. I only did 100 miles of it, which is still
only 100 miles.
In fact, I love I'm going to see our mutual friend Arwen again when I pick up my kids from camp. And what I love about visiting Arwen is that she lives right at about the 100-mile mark, maybe a little bit south of it. As I'm driving up Vermont, I mean, this trail goes along the ridge line of the Green Mountains. I'm driving and I'm like, I've done that. Like I can look at the ridges of the mountains and I'm like, I have climbed all the way from the border of Massachusetts all the way up to Rutland.
What a feeling that must be of accomplishment.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But anyway, I wrote about the experience of hiking and like along the trail, we encountered this hiker by the name of Trash who thought it would be funny to start cracking fat jokes in front of me when I was taking a break with my fellow hiker, Allie. The story resonated so much with people. It became the most popular piece of content for months. It converted more people from readers to paid subscribers. And in fact, it also generated so many letters to the editor just thanking him for including a story that looked and felt like many of the readers because they wanted to start changing the narrative that a hiker is a tall, lanky white man who will hike to the end of time.
Right.
But that article got so much response. One of the responses was life-changing. She saw my image, which was an image of me from the back. She read the description of my legs feeling like tree trunks or full of cement. I can't remember. I've used so many different descriptors for my legs.
Right.
And she said, I wonder if you've looked into whether you have lipedema. And so, of course, I went down the rabbit hole and I found that out. So it goes to say that representation matters. It can be life-changing for people. Yeah. And also like it really, that experience shines a light of like all my life, I couldn't be more open about my body, right? Putting it out there on Good Morning America, putting it out there in the New York Times. And yet this is the first time that someone came to me and said, I think you might have lipedema.
Wow. So, yeah, that reminds me of, I can't remember who it was, but someone noticed that someone had like a lump on their throat who was on TV and it wound up being like a cancerous tumor and like just from being out there, right? Sharing your story. So also what's crazy is what was the guy's name who was cracking the unfunny joke? Trash? Serious?
Yeah, that's really his hiker name, which I'm like, oh, thank you for that metaphor. I really appreciate it.
But can we just connect the dots because of Trash, right? You like wrote this amazing story. It resonated with so many people. It helped so many people. And you wind up finding out about this diagnosis that you never knew you had. So thank you, Trash.
That's right. Thank you, Trash. Thank you for being all the splendor that you are. That was really a gift.
Right. But that's the thing I love about Embracing the Suck, right? The first chapter in my book is all about taking a look back, right? And connecting all those lows and highs and lows and highs and seeing how they've right shaped you into who you are today. So wow.
Yeah. I've never thought so highly about trash until you said that.
Right. Trash, if you're listening,
Thanks. Thanks, Trash.
Thanks for being so kind. Anyway, forget about trash. Let's rewind. And can you just tell us a little bit more about, again, you started telling us about being 9, 12 years old in that age range. And what was it like? Was there any type of bullying that you had to endure or anything like that that really made a difference?
Well, I think anybody who's in a larger body knows that bullying and comments come from everywhere. I mean, yeah. I'm putting together a presentation for a group of very special individuals next week.
I know who
they are. Here I'm like looking at where does weight stigma come from, right? Yeah. And gosh, it could be medical providers, it could be your boss, it could be your colleagues, it could be strangers. And I think the one that's most heartbreaking is it could come from inside your own home. Yeah. It could be your mom, it could be your dad, it could be your kids, it could be your loving partner who just has a way of just getting to the core of who you are by chipping away at your core to just really to say things that are really hurtful, maybe not with that intent, but weight stigma is just pervasive. It is everywhere. And so, yes, as a kid growing up, I was bullied, elementary school, middle school, every age. I remember kind of having my body being a bit of a spectacle. And so I mentioned that over the years, I struggled with binge eating disorder and then lipedema. And so, when I stopped doing a lot of things that I loved for two reasons. One is I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't feel like my body fit into the mold. I mean, back then, around 1998, before the year 2000, right? When I wanted to maybe take a hike, I went to the hiking stores and there was nothing that fit me. And also I didn't look like any of the marketing either. So why would I think that I could be part of that culture? But, I was about to turn 30, I guess. And I realized that I wasn't going to get any younger. And if I wanted to do things, like as I kept telling myself, like, I'll do this when I lose weight. I'll do that. I'll go on these hikes when I go lose weight. I'll buy a new wardrobe when I lose weight. I'll go see the doctor when I lose weight. I mean, and I realized that clause was like after everything that would have brought me joy, wellness, love for myself.
Fulfillment.
Fulfillment. Right. And things that I deserved truly, but society taught me that because I was bigger, that maybe I didn't deserve those things. And so I decided that that's no way to live. And I'm going to just maybe start hiking. And I live in New Jersey, so there are plenty of flat trails to get started on that endeavor. I got the 50 Hikes of New Jersey book, and I started with the easy ones and just started to make my way up mountains. And Kilimanjaro wasn't even in the mind's eye at that time. It was just, I felt like I wanted to be the kind of gal who toted around a Nalgene bottle and saw beautiful things. And I could do that. I realized after, taking that first 20-minute hike, of course I was like suited up like I was going to go up Everest because it was terrifying. I thought of all the things that could go wrong because dovetailed with binge eating disorder is anxiety and depression. So the anxiety always kicks up when I'm doing something new or kind of scary. So I'm thinking to myself of all the things that could go wrong. Like I could get lost. I mean, like I'm hiking in New Jersey. I'd like end up in a Target parking lot. So silly, right?
Yeah. But our brain goes there. Our brain
Right.
goes there. Yeah.
Right. Or see a bear, or, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. But, those first few moments are so terrifying sometimes.
Mm,
It doesn't, you know, now as someone who's an experienced hiker, I don't think of it as much. And I always need to remember what those first few
mm,
hikes or experiences take so much of a mental hurdle to
mhm.
accomplish and to achieve. And
Yeah.
so it's super important for me to always keep that in mind, that anybody trying something new, it doesn't
Mhm.
have to be an athletic feat. It could be going into a store that they haven't visited. The
Mm.
journey is so complicated for folks in larger bodies just because they face so much trauma and stigma along the way.
Thank you for sharing that. And that also made me think of back when I was in the dojo. I was always, I was an instructor, so I would do like one-on-ones with folks who were just coming in, just to talk to them, right? That they were interested, and I could see their trepidation and they were nervous. And a lot of the things that would come up over and over again with new folks was, I'll start when I get in shape, right? Like I'll get in shape first and then I'll come to the dojo. I'm like, no, 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 no. You don't understand. Like, A, you're welcome here. And B, this is what you do to get fit, like your heart will get stronger, all the things. Your body will get stronger by doing this. You don't have to wait until, right, something happens. Jump in, get on the mat, get in the hiking shoes, get yourself on the trail,
Right.
and start small.
Mm-hmm. Just
Yeah.
to start. I mean, and this narrative of that weight equals fitness is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. It's
Right.
wrong. I mean, like, when someone could compare my numbers, like my blood pressure, my blood sugar, my cholesterol, with someone who's skinny, and I
Mm.
might, be so much,
Yeah.
healthier on the inside than someone else. So you can't tell somebody's narrative by looking at their bodies. It's so
Right.
important to provide that welcoming space, like the dojo.
Right. 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 Amazing. The dojo is everywhere. It's
Hmm.
wherever you're doing the work, metaphorically speaking, of course. Well, speaking of all of your hikes and everything, can you tell us about your Kilimanjaro hikes?
Yeah, absolutely. And there were three of them, I should say first. 3 times up Kilimanjaro. And to give you the nutshell version, because we don't have all day,
That's
the
okay.
first time I climbed Kilimanjaro was after that period of time where I just decided that I was going to start hiking. And,
Mhm.
I went to the top of Camel's Hump, which was this mountain in Vermont that was my nemesis. I had to turn around, 20 minutes into this 5-hour hike. So I took on that. I took on Mount Mansfield, the highest peak in Vermont. I did the Grand Canyon all the way down and all the way back up again without the assistance of a donkey.
Wow.
And so I was looking for, like, what will be my biggest challenge, my next big challenge. And I realized that Kilimanjaro at 19,343 feet is Africa's highest peak. And it's also the highest mountain that you can walk to the top of. So
Mm.
what that means is that it's not a technical climb,
Mhm.
right? No ice axes, no ropes, no supplemental oxygen, assuming you go down the right way.
Yeah.
um, and so I had originally set my sights on that mountain. And, truth be told, because I don't want to omit this part of the story, but in that first climb, I was hiking so much that my body shape really changed.
Mhm.
I lost a 3-digit weight loss, and people were suddenly asking me about, my weight. They were starting to pay attention. They were looking me in the eye. They were doing all
Mhm.
the things that they didn't do before I lost weight. They were treating me like a different person. And
Wow.
everybody wanted to know, what did you do? And how long did it take? And what are you
Mhm.
having for breakfast? And where are you working out? Like, it was really fascinating,
Yeah.
intimidating, all of the things that, you know, yeah, intrusive is probably
Mm.
the best way to say it. And so I didn't like all that attention about my body. And so I decided to reframe it. And I knew I wanted to climb Kilimanjaro, and I wanted to do it because it was such a life list item. I wanted to do it to raise
Mhm.
money for charity. And so I
Awesome.
found Global Alliance for Africa, which is based in Chicago, and they had fundraising climbs. So I joined one of those climbs to support AIDS orphans in Africa. So then every time someone asked me about my body with that and none of your business kind of question, I would say, well, actually, I'm training to climb Kilimanjaro, and here's where you can donate. And
Amazing. Good, good. Friends, if you've been following even for a short amount of time, you know it is my mission in life to help women feel more strong, safe, and powerful from the streets to the boardroom. One of my very favorite products to help you, your daughters, your nieces, and even your aging relatives stay more safe is Invisiwear jewelry. How it works is each product, from bracelets to keychains to necklaces and even scrunchies, all contain an SOS built-in button that connects to an app on your cell phone. From there, if you ever feel in danger, you just hit the button twice and it will send an SOS text with a link to your location to your pre-selected emergency contacts. For a premium subscription, which is optional, for just $11.99 a month, you can then text or speak to an ADT security agent 24/7 on call to help you get the help you need exactly when you need it. So head to invisiwear.com, use code SHEWARRIOR, one word, for 10% off your purchase, and stay safe, my friends.
And so, like, to give you an idea how many questions that amounted to, that was $12,000 worth of donations. So very effective.
Good.
Very effective.
Very good.
Yeah. And so, felt like I was on the top of the world, because I literally was. I mean, you're so high that the horizon is curved. It's crazy to feel like you literally are among the clouds. And I felt like, wow, I can do anything now. I've conquered my weight. This is it. I can go anywhere from here. And my next big adventure, admittedly, was starting a family. And so a year after I got off the mountain, almost exactly, my daughter Anna was born.
Aww.
And the story between the mountaintop and that moment is that when I was pregnant, I was terrified. And a lot of my binging behaviors came back. They weren't addressed. I was so ashamed about it, because here I was, this person that everybody was looking at like, look at you, skin, like they call me skinny and stuff like that. I didn't know what to say. Like, I'm struggling. Like, I don't know what's going on here. I don't, I'm back in these behaviors, and I didn't know how to ask for help. And so in one pregnancy, I put on more than half of the weight that I had lost. And then, went into, so again, I mentioned lipedema. It's almost like adding fuel to the fire.
Right.
When you're binging, or, when you have an excess caloric intake, right? And I didn't know at the time, right? Sure. And then it stays there, and then with binge eating disorder, one of my biggest triggers is being sleep deprived. And so with a newborn, this was, and also financial distress, because, I was, on maternity leave and felt like I didn't have a lot of money. So binging came back, and I thought I would turn it around by, after more than a year after Anna was born, I thought, well, the thing that really got me motivated was hiking. And so what if I just returned to Kilimanjaro? I don't know. Sometimes my brain works in interesting ways, but
you're brave. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I thought, well, if I just go back to Kilimanjaro, I mean,
just go back.
I'll just solve the problem of this, my body. And so, spoiler alert, that is not a recommended methodology, because I was in such denial about my behaviors and my body that I literally packed like the wrong clothes to go up the mountain. I packed the same clothes that I brought the first time and didn't even try them on. And so at the base of the mountain, where there are no plus size clothing stores, I found out that I had like no pair of pants to climb the mountain. And so
while you were already in Africa.
Well, I was already in Africa. So I had to find a tailor and sew two of my pair of pants into one. I binged the night before the climb. I mean, that's how
stress.
Yeah, that's how rattled I was on the inside and on the out. That like even the night before, I binged on something that I had bought in Europe on the way there, like at a stopover.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I was going to give to my kids for Christmas, and I ate it
Mm-hmm.
all in one night. And so because it was chocolate, it had caffeine in it, of course I was awake the whole night. So
Oh
didn't
gosh.
sleep, had the stress of binging. And of course that climb went terribly. I was so slow. Like you're supposed to go slow up Kilimanjaro, but like this is like record slow. Then, of course, I hadn't slept well. I wasn't feeling great. And
Mm-hmm.
I almost made it to the top, but there was a certain point where I had to turn around.
Yeah.
And,
Mm.
I mean, sometimes
Yeah. Sometimes
sometimes
it doesn't
really
happen.
good.
Yeah.
I mean, I
And
made it to summit night, but I didn't make it to the top.
right. And just what's coming up for me while I'm listening to both stories is the mindset, right? The mindset going into the first one versus the second one was totally different. And even the intention maybe wasn't the same either. Can you share about the third time?
Yeah,
Third time's the charm?
absolutely. And so when I came home from that climb, I was so defeated. I was like, I'm never going to hike again. This is stupid.
Ah,
This is just who I am, right? This is who I am. I'm someone who's in a larger body, and that's it. Like that's like as if I don't deserve to be on mountains anymore.
right.
And I was really in a hole. And not only that, because again, I didn't really deal with the mental part of I was back into binging. Like it was back with a vengeance with the hiding and replacing food. And so the really, really deep into BED, binge eating disorder behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So then I get an email from a friend who said that she wanted to climb Kilimanjaro and she wanted to do it with me. And so she would bring a friend, and together they pledged to, raise $1 per foot of the mountain, which is $19,343. Like
Wow.
that's enough to build a library in Kenya. Okay.
Wow.
Like it may not be enough here in the States, but in Kenya, that's a library. My cousin-in-law, Stacy, she also wanted to climb and wanted to go with me. And she said she would also sign up for a Global Alliance for Africa climb, and she would raise 5,000. So if I went, I knew that would be another 5K. And so
Wow.
here it is, like 30K is on the line for an organization I really care about. And so, you start to ask the question, how can I say no?
Yeah.
How can I say no to this? And then I was like, well, wait a minute. What if I flip the question and I said, how can I say yes? How can I say yes? And the only way
I like that reframe.
Right? The only way I can say yes is if I change the way I'm thinking about this. And this climb is not a punishment. This climb is a path. This climb I'm going to train. I'm going to do my best to put in the work, right? I'm going to go on long hikes. I'll walk a half marathon. I'll do boot camp, whatever it takes to get my body ready. But it doesn't matter if I don't lose a single pound. What matters is that I do the work to get up the mountain. And, it was really about like, I had to decide that, this wasn't like, I realized that so much of, diet culture was about hating my body, right? Fix my thighs, fix my gut, all this stuff. And so I needed to remember, like, what did you love? What did you love about that time frame? What did you love about your body? And so I needed to just, as hard as it was, to get to a point where I can love myself where I was, exactly as I was, and just go from there. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's
everyone listening, I just want Cara to repeat that last phrase one more time for us, because I think we all, especially women, need to hear it. Please repeat.
I needed to love myself where I was and go from there.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking like chirping birds, glowing hearts kind of love, but more appreciation, just respect. And it's okay that I am where I am. I mean, like, even this morning, I was reminded when I was doing a meditation, Krista McGee from Peloton was about like, you need
Love her.
Yeah, right. She's amazing. She said, like, you need to honor everything that you've done to get you to this moment. It was a peak performance meditation, in case you want to find it.
Amazing.
Just, and I was like, you know what? That's right. Like I may be doing a peak performance meditation because I want to up my ante in my workouts and in my agency and all this other stuff, but like just honor this.
I love that word, honor, and honor, respect, bow. So again, back to the dojo metaphor that I use all the time throughout the Art of Badassery is this bowing metaphor where we bow to our past, right? We bow to the highs, the lows, all of the things that have gotten us to where we are right now. With that bit of body love, is there anything, because again, it's we hear this often, right? We hear you need to love your body. Okay, but how? Are there specific practices that you, Cara, have, whether they be affirmations or meditation, whatever it is? How do you love your body, going from not loving it at all to actually doing it?
Yeah, that's a tough question because everyone is in such a different place, and so I think the way that I love my body the most is just showing up. It's just showing up. And I think, when I've talked a lot about weight stigma and experiences that have been negative or, I think the best way to combat from a troll on the internet to a jerk on the trail is just getting out there and living your best life. And so sometimes living your best life is showing up when you don't want to be there, right? Putting an image of myself doing something bold and brave online, right?
I love it. I love watching you. I just love it so much, everyone. You have to follow Cara on Instagram and on LinkedIn too. Really great stuff about her work, but really on Instagram as a influencer, right? Putting yourself out there and being so bold and brave in the face of adversity or whatever it is else that you're facing. She does it anyway. She shows up.
Oh, thank you. But it also might mean like me just getting on, my Peloton bike or taking a walk when I feel like, oh, not today. And yet there I am, right?
Yeah.
There's also a great meme I heard recently, like, don't let your mood dictate your actions. Let your actions dictate your mood. And like, I was like, oh, that's so true. Because like, I may have, the last couple of days have been really stressful. I moved from one house to another. Right. And, there's just been a couple business things that are just like, okay, that didn't work out the way that I thought it would. And I was like, oh, my mood is kind of glum, even though I'm usually a very sunshiny kind of person. I'm like, what could I do? I could take a walk. I could move another box. I could just move, and that usually does the trick.
Yeah. And so when you say loving your body, I'm hearing it's a respect, it's a showing up. And I also just want to make that distinction for folks. I want to point that out because I think sometimes when we hear you have to love your body and you're maybe hearing these different influencers, I don't know, that like, I feel like, oh, I have to be so in love with every part of my body. And sometimes it just feels so like, ugh, no, And I think there's a big difference. Like you don't have to be that enamored by your body if it doesn't feel true and authentic to you in the moment, but respect and honor, I feel like that's a lot more tangible.
And appreciation for sure.
Body love. It could be a hard thing to do, but it is possible for sure. So let's get into kind of what Cara's up to these days. So from writing the books, you then were, kind of, maybe was it intentional where you're like, I'm going to be a plus size influencer on the internet, or did it just kind of come naturally? And then share with us about your gorgeous agency and how that came to about, but like kind of that in between, what was going on there?
As an author, I used speaking engagements as the way to kind of make a living and make a difference, right? Those two things together. And then the pandemic happened, which was you know?
Her and I were on the phone every week, kind of being like,
Maybe every
okay.
other day at some points.
Yeah, exactly. Cheering each other on. So
Yeah.
you'll always be in my heart for that. Thank you.
Aw, same. So we needed to find another way to make a difference and make a living that didn't involve me traveling. And so one of the last things I did before the world shut down was to go to Outdoor Retailer, where I met some tremendous contacts, including Sean Gorman. I didn't know it was him at the time. He's like the chairman of the board, I think, of LL Bean. I mean, he's literally a descendant of one of the original founders. Anyway, I followed up with their team and said, you know, I'd love to do some influencer work. My friend Myrna Valerio was already doing some work with them. I thought I'd be a great fit. And of course, since I'd been wearing their stuff since I was a kid, because they're one of the few places that had stuff that fit me.
Really?
That's where I really, really started paid influencer work. And so it grew from there. You know, I found like I could have a voice, because influencing for me isn't so much about tricking people into doing, because you hear some negative things about influencers and giving bad advice and whatever. But for me as a plus size influencer, it was more about opening the door, right?
Yeah.
If I worked with LL Bean and I showed you clothing that fit my body, then I could highlight, you know, what it looks like to be on a trail or at a destination like Puerto Rico, which, you know, it worked with Discover Puerto Rico on another campaign. I could show people it was safe to be on a paddleboard, you know, and fun.
Yeah.
Really, really fun.
Yeah. You're showing people what's possible.
Right. Because it's so important, because I always say that role models lead to reality, right? There's not a lot of images of people in larger bodies out there on a paddleboard or doing the things, right? And so you have to show people, and because the customer journey for people who are plus size is so fractured. It's so fractured. And so you can't just show up with like a fancy photo shoot and say, hey, we've got plus sizes. You've got to rebuild that trust for people. And, you know, while you might build some excitement, the trust part is the most important thing, because this is a community, you know, 67% of US women are size 14 and above, and yet 12% of garments are made in plus sizes.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. 67% of US women are size 14 and above, yet 12% of garments are made in plus sizes.
The math's not mathing.
No, it's not tracking it at all. I mean, like, and so, but I mean, you think about it too, but also what's the retail experience for someone in a larger body? A store might say, you know, maybe your favorite brand suddenly says, we have plus sizes. And you're like, yay. And then you suit up, you go to the mall, you got money to spend, right? And you've got something that you got to get to, right? Whether it's a party, a vacation, a funeral. I mean, you need clothes for these things. And you think, okay, great. This brand that I have always admired has my size. So you go to the mall where a fraction, I mean, just a hairline, like just this tiny amount of stores in that mall have stuff for you. But you're going to that store that you love, and then you go there and they're like, oh, yes, we have plus sizes, but you can find them online. It's just like, awful. And such rejection. And it's really an insult, because here it is, like, the majority of Americans will fit into those clothing sizes, and yet you can't spare a rack or two.
Right. It's like when Julia Roberts goes into the boutique and she's like, but I have all this money to spend.
Right? Like, could you maybe offer like 2 or 3 less styles? So that, I mean, like, there's so many ways that you can configure this,
right?
So that you have space on the racks for maybe a few of them, right? Or, you know, I've been to stores, like, I'm so pumped when I was in Montreal, and when I went into the Adidas store, right on the front panel, plus size woman in athletic gear, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And I get in the store and I'm shopping with my daughter, and I'm like, wait a minute, where are the plus size clothes? And I literally found like 3 pieces none matched with each other. Like, so it doesn't,
Right.
there's so many pathways that need to be repaired and restored and so that's what the Gorgeous Agency does. I founded the Gorgeous Agency.
Please tell us. Please tell us.
Yeah, that's okay. I founded the Gorgeous Agency because I felt like there was a need for brands to look at this holistically and to see how they could repair those pathways. And so,
and hold on. So everyone, it's the Gorgeous, like Gorge, the name of her book, Gorgeous Agency. How brilliant. Keep going.
Yeah, thank you. I can't take credit for it. It was my coach, Christina Langdon, who came up with that one, but it was amazing. I saw a need in the marketplace for brands to really think this through and know that the customer journey really needs to understand that weight stigma is complex trauma. Like, you're not marketing in the normal ways. You have to think about everything, and you have to think about every angle of a product or an experience, whether it's a relationship with money, because, the majority of people, you have to evaluate their relationship with money, for example. So if you're a financial institution, you really need to not only do an audit of the images that are at your bank, internally, externally, but also think about the conversations that you could be having with clients about self-worth. When people in larger bodies are historically underpaid compared to their straight size coworkers, maybe they've been passed over for promotions or even being hired from the beginning. I mean, there was a great Wall Street Journal article about how pervasive weight stigma is in the workplace, and that so many people are not dealing with it, but need to soon because of upcoming legislation. It could be anything. It could be a fitness corporation. It could be a restaurant. It could be, there's so many different things. Oh, and of course, travel. Travel is where I'm getting so much traction from, making sure a destination feels welcoming and has information about excursions and how to open the door to more people to travel, and also imagery, right? But then also like airline seats or train travel. There's so many different ways that you can start to kind of know that this is a welcoming place for anybody, and that all bodies are welcome here.
Right. All bodies are welcome here. I love that. As a wrapping to this episode, I want everyone to, again, follow you on LinkedIn, because you do post so many great articles, post brands that are doing it well. You post, the challenges and things basically that companies are missing out on when they're lacking your help and really reaching all their customers. So follow Cara on LinkedIn, but also on Instagram for her influencer work, and just sharing. I know you share a lot about your story and your personal life there, which we appreciate too. So with that said, I'm going to ask you a few just rapid fire questions to close us out and to get to know you a little bit better. So the first is there any practice that you have that is a non-negotiable daily for your self-care?
Meditation.
Great. What's your favorite food from childhood?
It's a toss-up between coffee crisp and Hostess potato chips up in Canada.
I've never even heard of them. Okay.
Ketchup and dill pickle flavors.
Oh, yum. Okay, I love that. What's your favorite personal development or self-help book or author?
Oh, The Art of Badassery, of course.
Ding, 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 ding. Good answer. Any others?
Oh, gosh. I mean, there's so many, but I'd have to say Wild by Cheryl Strayed, because Cheryl ultimately became my teacher and a friend. I finished writing Gorge with Cheryl Strayed, who wrote Wild, in Chamonix, France. Amazing. It was probably one of the most beautiful months of my entire life.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, Wild by Cheryl Strayed. Name one person, living or dead, that you would love to have a drink with. And what is that drink?
Oh my gosh. So I guess it would have to be, oh no, you're going to have to cut this part, because now I'm forgetting his name. This is terrible.
Okay.
Oh no. How could I forget his name?
Would I know who he is?
Yeah, you would. He's an actor and he's really funny, and he owns the aviation gin company.
Oh,
Hold on.
Ryan Reynolds?
Yes. Okay.
Okay. You say it. You say it.
All right. Okay, that's definitely Ryan Reynolds. And of course, we'd have to have some aviation gin. I just think Ryan is hysterical. He's also Canadian, like I am. And he is so much more than an actor, and he's a businessman. He's a philanthropist and a great sense of humor. And I just think he would be I would learn so much and laugh so much at a dinner, which I think would be a lot of fun.
That's funny. You Canadians always stick together. Okay. And then last but not least, tell everyone out there where they can find you, follow you, and your books.
Of course. So if any of this strikes a nerve for you and you think that your company would be interested in hosting an event, whether it's a workshop on trying to find gaps and opportunities for the plus size market, or if it's just a talk, sharing my story and adventures and how people can overcome obstacles, you can reach out to us at thegorgeousagency.com. Follow me on Instagram, which is at Cara Richardson Whitely. And you can also find me on LinkedIn at Cara Richardson Whitely, or you can just look up The Gorgeous Agency.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Cara, for sharing, being so open with us. Everyone out there, I just asked to please share this episode with someone that could use a boost of badassery. And in case you forgot, you are bold, you are brave, you are a badass, and you know it. Thanks.